Recently, the amount of money in sports has erupted due to an unheralded influx of money from Middle Eastern countries, in particular Saudi Arabia and their public investment fund. For example, the Saudi Cup, initially ran in 2020, has a purse of $20 million, with the winner taking home half of it, $10 million. An additional $15 million was paid out in other horse races the same weekend. In 2023-2024, Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema are each paid more than $200 million in the Saudi Pro Soccer League. In December 2023, golfer Jon Rahm blew these numbers away as he was offered in excess of $500 million to play for the LIV Golf League, funded through the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. This is in addition to several other LIV golfers making $100 to $300 million per year in recent involvement in tennis. But how do these athletes compare to professional football, basketball, and baseball players? Even more relevant, how do rodeo athletes fare? Let's take a look at a number we can relate to in order to keep things in perspective. How much do the top athletes in these sports make per minute? Yes, I said per minute. Not only that, but stick around to the end, as I'm sure you won't believe which athlete is paid the most. I'm pretty sure that 99.99% of today's rodeo contestants would not consider competing in Saudi Arabia for $1 million per year salary. But what about 10 times or even 100 times that amount? And would it change your mind if you didn't have to leave North America to compete? It's hard enough to try and gather the data with respect to football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, and tennis, let alone motorsports like NASCAR, Formula One, and yacht racing. Despite a wild goose chase trying to find consistent data, and all of the sports I looked at, rodeo is by far the most complicated. I believe I have come up with some pretty interesting results. Although I have studied almost every major sport and numerous lesser known ones, I totally believe that the physical, mental, financial, and logistical demands of rodeo and showing horses are the most unique in the world of sport. I bet you didn't know that, right? Just kidding. Of course you did. I don't want to ruffle too many feathers, but I do want you to walk away from consuming my content shaking your head and asking yourself, what if? For example, many other sports seem to prioritize their athletes' success even if it means bucking tradition. Yes, that pun was intended. For example, not too many years ago, many professional athletes were discouraged from lifting weights as all that extra muscle would make them perform poorly. If only it were that easy. And no way would a professional athlete seek out a sports psychologist. After all, they weren't crazy. Or were they? Nowadays, almost every professional athlete follows a strict strength and conditioning program and employs a network of specialists, including performance psychologists. And records keep falling and earnings keep increasing. On the other hand, rodeo seems to do the opposite. I mean, think about it. Mentally, physically, and financially, having rodeo athletes subject their minds and bodies to the rigors of going down the road chasing dollars is not conducive to long-term success and well-being. Do I have a solution? Kinda, especially since I firmly believe if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. What if the traditional rodeo lifestyle and the organizations behind them are the main reasons why rodeo athletes are some of the lowest paid athletes in the world? What if the logistical nightmare of going down the road in rodeo is preventing the first $1 million in a year PRCA rodeo athlete earnings? What if the scheduling of events, including the major ones, prevents rodeo athletes from performing at their best and may even promote excessive injuries due to poor recovery and other stressful situations? I'm a big fan of tracking metrics through the accumulation of objective data. One of the things that interests me is that we always hear about the money won, the prize money earned, the titles achieved, yet how much did it cost? And I don't just mean financially. What about the mental, physical, and opportunity costs involved? What is the take-home pay for rodeo athletes? What about other pro athletes? Did I say rodeo athletes are some of the lowest paid athletes in the world? Let's take a look at that. First, with respect to salaries, I'm not including any sponsorships, endorsements, etc. And second, I'm just throwing this out there with the hope that positive change and awareness happens. In a runnersathletics.com post from 2023, In 2020, the average salary for athletes in NASCAR, golf, hockey, football, soccer, Formula One, baseball, and basketball were all in excess of $1 million per year. Meanwhile, the average professional rodeo athlete's annual salary was around $45,000, or only 4.5% of the others. For Major League Baseball, according to Wikipedia, there are more than 80 professional organizations worldwide, but we're just going to talk about Major League Baseball. Professional baseball started in 1869. The MLB formed in 1903, making it the oldest pro sports league. There are 945 professional players. Salaries range from $720,000 per year minimum to more than $40 million. They play 162 games, not including playoffs, over approximately 6 months. Therefore, that's 25,920 minutes, or $28 a minute for the minimum guys, up to $1,543 per minute for the guys getting paid $40 million or more. According to Wikipedia, there are hundreds of professional basketball organizations worldwide, but we're just talking about the National Basketball Association. Professional basketball actually started in 1898. The NBA formed in 1946. There are 450 players. Their salaries range from $1.12 million, which is the minimum, to more than $50 million per year. They play in 82 games, not including playoffs, over approximately 6 months. Therefore, that's 3,936 minutes. The minimum wage players make $285 per minute. The guys making $50 million plus are making $12,703 per minute. According to Wikipedia, there are hundreds of professional football organizations worldwide, but we're going to talk mainly about the NFL. Professional football started in 1892 in the USA, maybe 1880 for the CFL. The NFL formed in 1920. In the NFL, there are 1,700 players. The salaries range from $750,000 per year minimum to more than $50 million. They play in 17 games during the season, not including playoffs, over 18 weeks. Therefore, that's 1,020 minutes. The minimum guys make $735 per minute. The highest paid athletes, almost $50,000 per minute. And yes, I understand that these athletes don't play every minute of every game, but let's look at some golf, tennis, and soccer numbers. In tennis, the US Open is the highest paid competition. The contestants play 7 3-hour-long matches for a total of 1,260 minutes. The winner gets $3 million for about $2,400 per minute. One thing to note about this is that both the men and the women get the same prize. In PGA golf, the richest tournament is the Players' Championship. The average game of professional golf takes around 4 hours, and the players complete 4 rounds for a total of 960 minutes. The winner gets $4.5 million, or about $4,600 per minute. In LIV Golf, there are a dozen tournaments with $20 million in prize money individually, and another $5 million for teams in each event. There are 14 tournaments, and only 54 players are under contract. So let's say Jon Rahm didn't win any additional tournaments. FYI, his team already won the first tournament this year for an extra $3 million. 14 events of 3 4-hour rounds is 12,480 minutes. Thus, 500 million divided by 12,480 minutes is a little more than $40,000 per minute. For soccer, each player in the Saudi Pro League plays in 34 regular season games of 90 minutes each. That's 3,060 minutes. For Ronaldo and Benzema, that's $200 million divided by 3,060 minutes, or around $65.4 thousand per minute. Holy cow! So far, the highest paid professional athletes per minute are a LIV golfer at about $40,000, an NFL player at just under $50,000, and a couple of Saudi Pro League soccer players at a little more than $65,000 per minute. But wait, what about rodeo? Well, according to Wikipedia, there are less than 20 professional organizations worldwide, including the PRCA, the PBR, and the WPRA. Rodeo started in 1869. The PRCA formed in 1936, the Women's Professional Rodeo Association in 1948, and the Professional Bull Riders in 1992. There are approximately 6,000 PRCA athletes, 3,600 women, and 500 PBR members. Salaries range from $0 to $930,000 per year, which Stetson Wright did in 2022. There are more than 700 events between the PRCA, PBR, and WPRA, but there's also huge team roping and other individual events, and top athletes could hit 2 or more rodeos per week. It is hard to determine total money won and how many events entered. For example, the PRCA limits include 70 events for the all-around, 100 for saddle bronc, and no limit for bull riding. But Stetson Wright probably rode 200 total. So therefore, 200 rides at 8 seconds each is only about 27 minutes. Or in other words, $34,445 per minute. The PBR's John Crimber just won $42,000 at the Unleash the Beast event in Jacksonville, Florida. He rode 3 bulls for a total of 24 seconds and won $42,000. That's $105,000 per minute. And let's not forget some rodeo athletes who have won $1 million or more for a few 8-second rides. However, athletes in Major League Baseball, National Basketball Association, and the National Football League, let alone Saudi-backed professional golf, tennis, and soccer, most likely do not have to pay for the majority of their own expenses. Could you imagine if a Major League Baseball player had to provide their own transportation, lodging, meals, and incidentals to all 162 plus games per year? Now then, what if the SPIF decided to get into rodeo? Seriously, what if a member of the Saudi Public Investment Fund watched the PBR event or the Wrangler National Finals and said, wow, that looks interesting. Let's put on a rodeo over here and we'll pay to bring in the top 10 athletes in each event, including breakaway and steer roping, or the top 20 PBR riders, and cover all the expenses for the competitors as well as the stock and their handlers, bullfighters, shoot help, judges, announcers, etc. And we'll throw in $10 million per event, or say $20 million for a PBR event, and go 3 rounds or something like that. Would any cowboys or cowgirls do it? And what about all the stock contractors, bullfighters, arena crew, judges, shoot help, veterinarians, and specialty acts? I'm betting none of them would. At least not the majority of the top rodeo athletes anyhow. On the other hand, I'm sure there will be some rodeo athletes out there who would say yes. Why? First, I think in rodeo, just like in many athletic endeavors, there are those athletes who are passionate about their sport and taking care of their loved ones, but would do anything to make more money doing it. Although I think the majority of all rodeo athletes would opt out for political, religious, or moral issues, regardless of the money involved. Second, if it was just about the money and titles, then why do so many rodeo athletes not do everything in their power to improve their performance? Most rodeo athletes don't do everything possible to increase their performance and earnings and decrease injuries, or else they would invest more in strategies to do so. This blows my mind, as I can think of many areas whereby a rodeo athlete could dramatically increase their return on their performance investment. And this extends to rodeo athletes' support network regarding lifestyle changes that would help them and their athletes. Finally, just like some of the conflict between the PGA and LIV Golf, I'm sure the PBR, WPRA, and PRCA would have something to say, even if it meant their athletes could make some life-changing amounts of money. After all, it's not about the money or titles, right? If you think I don't get it, let me remind you of my chosen sport, powerlifting. Yes, even though I've competed in a couple dozen sports, including rodeo, I've been a powerlifter the longest. And despite more than 100 world, national, and state records, and multiple world, national, military, and state titles, after competing for more than 40 years, I finally won my first prize money last September. A $100 bill for setting the most world records at the event, 11 total, and 13 national records. In addition to the transportation costs, lodging, meals, spectator fees for my wife and friends, I paid almost $400 in entry fees for 6 gold medals, the titles, and the records. So yes, just like many rodeo athletes, I don't do it just for the money. I'm pretty sure that with my performance training knowledge and experience, if I devoted the same amount of time and effort to new sports like cornhole or pickleball, I'd be equally as competitive in those activities and make more money. But no thanks, not yet. Now then, I wonder what the Saudis think about drug-free powerlifting. Okay, my final rant. This year, an investment group gave the PGA $3 billion. $930 million will be given out as grants to current and former players. Of that, about 80% or $750 million will be divided up by the top 36 players. That's more than $20 million each. Another $75 million will be given to the 36 legends who helped build the game. That's another $2 million each. And that's not all. A famous basketball player and a singer just made a major investment in golf. How come something like that can't come along for rodeo? And FYI, Senor Buscador with Junior Alvarado aboard won the Saudi Cup in about 1 minute and 50 seconds, or $5.5 million per minute. I guess that makes him and his jockey the highest paid athletes.